What if the reason you're exhausted isn't because you're doing too little, but because you're doing too much? Think about that for a second. You pray more, you read your Bible more, you try to be kinder, more patient, more disciplined, and still, somehow, you end up right back where you started, tired, frustrated, wondering if you're the problem. Here's something that might shake you today. Jesus never asked you to try harder. In one of the most quietly powerful moments in the entire Bible, he said something that completely dismantles the way most of us approach faith. He didn't hand his disciples a checklist. He didn't tell them to push, hustle, or grind their way into holiness. He gave them one word, and that word is about to change the way you live for the rest of your life. By the time this video ends, you're going to understand exactly why your striving has been working against you and what to do instead. Stay with me, because point number 3 is the one that usually stops people in their tracks. Point number 1, the trap of trying harder. Let's start with a question. Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to feel close to God, the further away he seems? You're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. Picture two believers. Both love God, both want to grow. The first one treats faith like a job performance review. Every day is a new attempt to prove something to God, to other people, to themselves. They read an extra chapter because they feel guilty if they don't. They serve at church until they're running on fumes. From the outside, it looks like devotion. On the inside, it feels like exhaustion. The second person faces the exact same struggles, the same bills, the same arguments, the same bad days. But something about them is different. They're not frantic. They're not performing. There's a quiet steadiness to how they carry themselves, almost like they know something the rest of us haven't figured out yet. What's the difference? It's not talent. It's not willpower. It's not even how much Bible knowledge they have. It's where they're getting their strength from. One is trying to generate their own power, like a phone with no charger, squeezing out every last bit of battery through sheer effort. The other is simply plugged in. That distinction is everything. And it's exactly what Jesus was trying to get his closest friends to understand in the final hours before his death. Point number 2, the room where everything changed. To understand why this moment matters so much, you have to understand where Jesus was standing when he said it. This wasn't a relaxed teaching on a hillside. This was the night before the cross. Jesus knew what was coming. He knew in a matter of hours he'd be arrested, and shortly after that, he'd be gone. His disciples had no idea what they were about to face: betrayal, fear, a world that would hate them for following him. If you had only minutes left with the people you loved most, what would you say? You wouldn't waste time on small talk. You'd say the one thing they absolutely needed to hear. And here's what's striking. Jesus doesn't give them a strategy. He doesn't say, here's how to build a movement. He doesn't say, try harder to keep the faith after I'm gone. Instead, he gives them a single image, so simple a child could grasp it, yet so deep that entire lifetimes are spent learning it. I am the vine, you are the branches. Let's slow down and really look at what he's saying. The vine holds the water. The vine holds the nutrients. The vine holds the life. The branch doesn't manufacture any of that. It simply receives it. And here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. A branch has never once in the history of the world strained to produce a grape. You've never seen a branch clenched up, stressed, wondering if it's doing enough. It doesn't create the fruit. It only stays connected to the source that does. If that's true for a branch on a vine, what does that say about the way you've been approaching your own growth? Point number 3. What abide actually means. This is the word that changes everything. Abide. It sounds like an old, dusty church word, but in its original meaning, it's incredibly simple and incredibly practical. It means to remain, to stay put, to live somewhere, not just pass through it. Here's a picture that might help. Think about the difference between a tourist and someone who actually lives in a city. A tourist checks in for the weekend. They take some photos, hit the highlights, and leave. A resident doesn't visit. They dwell there. It's their home. So many of us treat our relationship with God like tourism. We check in on Sunday morning. We show up when there's a crisis and we need something. But we never actually move in. A branch doesn't visit the vine on weekends. If it did, it would shrivel up within days. Abiding isn't a scheduled appointment. It's a continuous connection. Think about your phone for a moment. The second you unplug it, it doesn't shut off immediately. It still works. You can still text, scroll, watch a video. But a countdown has quietly started. It's draining, even though everything looks fine on the surface. That's what it looks like when we stop abiding. We don't fall apart overnight. We just start running on what's left over from last week's prayer, last month's sermon, last year's spiritual high. And then one day we wonder why we feel irritable, anxious, and empty, even though on paper, we're doing everything right. If you've been feeling drained lately, waking up tired before the day even starts, feeling like everything depends on you holding it all together, achieving things that don't taste like success anymore, working harder but somehow losing ground, that's not a punishment. That's a signal. It's your soul quietly telling you, I was never built to run on my own power. Point number 4. Why trying harder makes it worse. Here's where most of us make the exact wrong move. We notice a problem, our temper, our anxiety, our lack of direction, and we immediately go into fix-it mode. Pray longer, read more, white-knuckle our way through another attempt at self-improvement. But look again at what Jesus says in this passage. He never once tells the branch to try harder. He doesn't say, push yourself to produce more fruit. He says something that cuts straight through our pride. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Not you'll struggle, not you'll be less effective, nothing. Trying to grow spiritually without staying connected to the source is like polishing a light bulb that isn't plugged in. You can scrub that bulb until your hands ache, and it will never glow, because the light was never going to come from your effort in the first place. This is the part that quietly humbles all of us. The growth you've been chasing isn't a reward for your sweat. It's the natural overflow of staying close to Him. So if trying harder isn't the answer, what actually is? That's exactly where we're headed next, and this is the part you can start putting into practice today. Point number 5. 3 ways to abide in your ordinary day. You don't need a retreat center or a mountaintop experience to abide. You just need to shift 3 simple habits inside your normal, busy life. First, change what shapes your reactions. Most of us let the world set our mood. A stressful email, a rude comment, bad news on our phone, and suddenly our whole day is hijacked. The shift is simple. Before you react, pause for 1 second and let a single truth settle your heart instead. Something like, I am not what today's stress says about me. I am who God says I am. That one pause can change the next 10 hours of your life. Second, stop treating prayer like a scheduled meeting. A lot of us think of prayer as something we do at a set time, then close the door on until tomorrow. But abiding means staying in conversation, not checking in and out. Talk to God while you're driving, while you're doing dishes, while you're sitting in traffic. It doesn't have to be long. Even a few honest words. I need you right now keeps the connection alive throughout your day. Third, see obedience as protection, not restriction. We often think following God's way means missing out on something, but every time you choose His way over your own impulse, you're not losing freedom. You're clearing the line so His strength can actually flow through you. Obedience isn't the fence keeping you in, it's the wire keeping the power on. Here's what happens when you actually live this out. You stop forcing peace and start experiencing it, even when your circumstances haven't changed. You stop chasing joy and start noticing it quietly rising up on ordinary days. You stop straining for strength and start realizing you're handling things that used to break you, not because you toughened up, but because you're finally plugged into something bigger than yourself. Let's come to conclusion. Here's the truth I want you to walk away with today. Your life was never meant to be a performance you have to keep upgrading. It was meant to be a connection you simply stay rooted in. It's not about your effort. It's about His source. It's not about doing more. It's about staying near, so the next time you feel that familiar weight, the exhaustion, the emptiness, the feeling that you're carrying too much alone, don't reach for another 5-step plan. Don't go back to running on empty. Just reconnect. Pause. Breathe. Come back to the vine. Because everything you've been exhausting yourself trying to find, real peace, real strength, real joy, was never something you had to build. It was something you were meant to receive. If this message spoke to something you've been carrying quietly, don't just scroll past it. Drop a comment below with the words, "Lord, teach me to abide." Let that be your way of telling God today that the striving is over and you're ready to stay connected. If you know someone who's been running on empty lately, someone exhausted, anxious, or just tired of trying so hard, send this video to them. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is permission to stop pushing and start resting. And if you want more simple, life-changing truths like this one, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Stop trying. Start abiding. I'll see you in the next one.